India remains, and by a wide margin, the fastest growing large economy. And there's no reason for India to grow. Well, so the World Bank and the IMF, as you know, recently had their annual meetings in Washington, and that's usually the time when we reevaluate our economic forecasts, right, for the outer years. And the World Bank, like the IMF, are very consistent in their forecast that India remains, and by a wide margin, the fastest growing large economy in the world. In fact, making now a very significant contribution to world growth by virtue of the fact that India is supposed to grow over the foreseeable future anywhere between 6 and 7%, which is significantly higher than what we expect the developed economies or even the African continent, for example, to grow. So yes, India is the positive news, if you want, on the growth front. We forecast that India will grow anywhere between 6.3 and 7% over the foreseeable future.
Can you give the duration, that foreseeable future? Is it FY26 or 27?
Well, so the way that we do this, we have our models that basically look at the fundamentals of the economy, right? The size of the working population, the capital stock, the productivity trends, and there's no reason for India to grow, significantly below 6%, just because it is such a dynamic, it has a large population, a rate of entrance into the labor force that mechanically gives you a very high growth. I think the real question that is relevant for India is not whether we'll continue to grow at 6. The question is, what can we do to grow at 10, right? And that's the question where you stop to rely on kind of your natural assets, your natural strength, your large your working age population, your capital stock, and you think about productivity, you think about being more efficient, you think about integrating into global value chains, and what will give you that delta from good to great.
So what are the major factors which are supporting this growth? What are the tailwinds?
Well, so the tailwinds is the fact that India is a huge market already per se, right? So the type of vulnerability to external developments that small open economies will face in terms of uncertainty is much less binding for a country like India, which is by and large has this huge domestic market and is therefore less exposed to global volatility. And then, like I said, there's the fact that the working age population keeps growing and will continue growing until about 2050, with a dependency ratio that's very favorable, and that's basically the ratio of active workers versus inactive population. So that is a real asset for India, and that explains a lot of the growth. Afterwards, there's of course many other things that are positive. The fact that in many kind of domains related to digital, for example, or global capability centers, India has been able to position itself as really a hub for innovation and for dynamism that really feeds also into the kind of productivity of the economy.
So how longer India can protect itself from the global, fall in the economy, the slowdown in the economy?
Well, so first of all, I think what we should do is not necessarily consider that the instability today will necessarily be, or the uncertainty today will necessarily be true for the foreseeable future, right? It's not a given that it will be, and I don't think that the posture should be reactive or protective. I think India has a lot of cards to play, and that in fact, I would argue that India should be more open to the world as opposed to less open to the world, because it has so many advantages and cards in its hands that it can play. So my feeling is that it's less about protecting itself, but it's about kind of leveraging its strength to, in fact, be probably more aggressive in integrating into the global economy.
What are your comments on the U.S. tariff?
On the
U.S. tariff?
No, I don't have any comments on the U.S. tariffs. Generally, as an institution, the World Bank, we tend to think that free trade tends to help everyone, including developing countries. That's what at least the experience of the past, couple decades seems to suggest. But it's not, for me to judge the individual policies of individual countries. I can give you the general principles, but we hear a lot about the tariff wars, etc. Global trade is growing; it's not shrinking, right? So it's not like the world has been turned on its head from one day to the next. And moreover, I don't think it's only tariffs. There was COVID, right, where we realized that there were vulnerabilities inherent in integration, that countries had, the need to de-risk from specific value chains or from specific bilateral interactions. So it's been a process, right, of kind of revisiting or rethinking our previous priors, and I think in some respects this was justified. And like I said, trade is growing. It's just not growing as fast as it used to, but it's not like we're in a completely different world today than we were yesterday. There's still many opportunities for developing countries to seize through trade.
So do you think Indian policies are going on the right track, or do you suggest something to them to have a better economy?
So, when you're talking about a country that's growing at 6-7%, it's hard to tell that they're not doing the right thing, right? I mean, obviously something is going right, and like I said, for me, the challenge for India is nothing else than going from good to great. So if you ask me what can India do, not only to do very well, but to do even better, there's actually a publication that we just released not too long ago. It's called the India Economic Memorandum. It's available on our website, and I would encourage everyone to take a look, because this is where we make suggestions, we make proposals to go from good to great and to achieve that Viksit Bharat goal that we think is going to be a tough destination, but it's not impossible. And in fact, if India plays its cards well, it can get there.
Thank you so much for talking.
No, unfortunately, I'm sorry. I wish. Yeah. But I got AirPods Pro, so now I can probably translate from Hindi to English with my AirPods. Yeah, I don't have them on me, so unfortunately.
iPhones.
Yeah, so the new AirPods, they have a function to translate, right? Connected to your phone, but Hindi is part of the languages that you can translate now, so we could have a conversation next time.
Really? Yeah, so what's the event about today?
So, it's an event organized by CareEdge, and what I learned today is that this is a huge organization, right? Because India has a policy which I think is very sensible, which is that for companies to issue debt or to obtain loans, they need to be rated. So there's a huge domestic market for rating, and CARE has also, as far as I understand, also gone into the sovereign rating space. So it now has this international branch doing sovereign rating. So they like to keep a pulse on the domestic economy, but also what's going on in the world, and I think that's the point of this event today.
How will it help in getting the credible reports in the country?
That you need to ask them. I'm very confident about their skills and integrity, and I think yes, indeed, that's the rating ecosystem is one of the key pillars, right? Institution pillars of well-functioning markets, and it is a very credible outfit. So for sure, yes.